Live from New Delhi, you're watching DDI News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Bangladesh interim government promises to fix minority attacks. Statue of Pakistan's 1971 surrender to India in Dhaka vandalized. Indian authors and scientists write an open letter expressing concern, urge immediate action. India's retail inflation eases, declines to 3.5% in July from 5.1% in June 2024, lowest in 5 years. Index of industrial production records a growth of 4.2% in June 2024. Indian Institute of Technology Madras retains its first position in the overall category of National Institutional Rankings. AIIMS Delhi tops in the medical category. US deploys a guided missile submarine in West Asia as the region braces for possible attacks by Iran and its allies. Hamas urges mediators to implement Joe Biden's Gaza truce plan. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Ukraine is trying to improve negotiating position with Kursk offensive. His Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky asserts Russian strikes deserve fair response. Bangladesh's interim government on Monday asked protesters to surrender till August 19th all illegal and unauthorized firearms, including rifles looted from law enforcers during the recent violence. A Home Affairs advisor, Brigadier General retired MS Sakhawat Hussain, also apologized to the minorities for attacks on them, appealing to his country's majority community to protect the minorities.
A week after the exit of Sheikh Hasina and the appointment of a new interim government, violence in Bangladesh is yet to subside. In one such incident on Monday, local madrasa students removed a board saying Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Expressway of the Dhaka-Mawa Expressway in Munshi-Ganj. They replaced it with a banner that read Father of the Nation Hazrat Ibrahim Expressway. Mobs still rule the streets, targeting minorities. Police are yet to take control of at least 40 police stations. After a work abstention for about a week, police personnel are slowly returning to their duties. There were attacks on many police stations across Bangladesh following the fall of the Awami League-led government. Since then, police personnel have been abstaining from work, citing safety concerns. Students have been seen managing traffic on roads in Dhaka and other parts of the country in the last few days. So much so that the Home Affairs advisor had to warn the police to return to their respective police stations, otherwise they would be deemed as unwilling to continue working. The Home Affairs advisor on Monday also asked protesters to surrender by the 19th of August all illegal firearms, including rifles looted from law enforcers during the recent violence. He also apologized to minorities for attacks against them.
It is every citizen's duty to protect the minorities. The majority in particular must ensure their safety. If they fail to do so, they too must answer. I apologize to my minority brothers because we are passing through a period of chaos. At many places, society gave protection. I apologize that police, RAF and other forces which could be deployed were not done as their condition is not good. They will come back. I would request the larger society, they the minorities are your brothers. You grew up together, be by their side, stand by any oppressed people.
In India, Union Home Minister Amit Shah reviewed the ongoing situation in Bangladesh on Monday and its implications for the northeast. Steps to be taken to ensure the safety of the borders were discussed in the meeting and an appeal was made to all to maintain peace and harmony. Meanwhile, a group of eminent citizens from India wrote an open letter expressing concern and urging action to stop attacks against Hindus in Bangladesh. Bureau Report, DD India.
And India's retail inflation eased to 3.54% year-on-year in July. As per data released by the government on Monday, this marks the first time since August 2019 that inflation has fallen below the Reserve Bank's of India's medium-term target of 4%. In June, the inflation rate had risen to 5.08% annually, the first increase in 5 months, driven by a surge in food prices. And in India's industrial production, it grew by 4.2% in June this year, mainly due to a good show by the mining and power sectors. As per government data, the factory output measured in terms of index of industrial production witnessed a growth of 4% in June 2023. India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan released the India Rankings 2024, which implement the National Institutional Ranking Framework, drafted for this purpose by the Ministry of Education in 2015. This is the 9th consecutive edition of India Rankings of higher education institutions in India. And this year, 3 new categories were added. That's open universities, skill universities and state universities. In the overall category, IIT Madras topped the rankings, followed by Indian Institute of Science Bangalore bagging the 2nd place and IIT Bombay at the 3rd place. In the category of universities, Indian Institute of Science Bangalore topped in the 1st position, followed by JNU in the 2nd place and Jamia Millia Islamia Delhi getting the 3rd position. In the category of colleges, Hindu College in Delhi clinched the top position, followed by Miranda House, that's a college in Delhi University, bagging the 2nd position, and St. Stephen's College the 3rd position. In the category of medical educational institutions, AIIMS New Delhi bagged the top spot, followed by PGI MER Chandigarh and the Christian Medical College Vellore bagging the 3rd spot.
Out of this 58,000 higher education institution, 6,517 institutions participated in the ranking competition, and they are all unique institutions. 10,845 applications were there in the different categories.
Amid evacuations taking place in Belgorod region by the Russian forces, President Vladimir Putin said that Ukraine is trying to improve its negotiating position with Kursk offensive. 11,000 people have been evacuated from the border region. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russian strikes deserve a fair response. More in this report.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said on Monday that Ukraine was trying to improve negotiating position with Kursk offensive, but it would not succeed. Speaking in a televised meeting with top security officials and regional governors, Putin said that the enemy will receive a worthy response.
It is becoming obvious and clear now why the Kyiv regime had refused our proposals to return to a peaceful settlement plan, as well as the proposals of interested and neutral mediators. It appears that the enemy, with the help of his Western masters, is fulfilling their will, and the West is fighting us with the hands of the Ukrainians. The enemy will certainly receive a worthy response, and all the goals facing us will, without a doubt, be achieved.
Early on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia had launched nearly 2,000 cross-border strikes from its western Kursk region at Ukraine's Sumy region over the summer. Something he said had deserved a fair Ukrainian response.
Only from the beginning of this summer and only from the Kursk region, our Sumy region suffered almost 2,000 strikes. Artillery mortars, drones. We also monitor every missile strike, and each such strike deserves a fair response.
Russia has begun evacuations in another city, which is the Belgorod region, as it eyes rising military activity across the border in Ukraine. Governor of Belgorod region visited border regions after clashes broke out between the Russian and Ukrainian forces in the area. The governor of Belgorod region announced on Monday that he had ordered civilians in one district of the region to head for safety. Russian forces are battling an Ukrainian offensive in the neighboring Kursk region. Russia has imposed a tight security regime in the Kursk, Bryansk and Belgrad regions, while its ally Belarus said it was bolstering its troop numbers as it border after Minsk said Ukraine had violated its airspace with drones. Russian officials say Ukraine's attack on Russia's sovereign territory are aimed at showing its Western supporters that Kiev can still muster major military operations while trying to gain a bargaining chip ahead of possible ceasefire talks. According to the state news agency, 11,000 people have been evacuated from Krasnaya Yaruga district in Russia's Belgrad region. Meanwhile, Russia's air defenses have destroyed 11 drones that Ukraine launched on the intervening night of Sunday and Monday targeting the border Kursk region. Russian air defense units also destroyed 5 other Ukrainian-launched drones over the Belgrad region, which also borders Ukraine, and 2 over the Voronezh region. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin will hold talks on Tuesday with Palestinian President Muhammad Abbas, who is visiting Russia as reported by state news agency. Ukraine said on Monday it had not seen any sign of a build-up of Belarusian forces near their border, contradicting a statement from Minsk that it had sent more troops to the area. Belarusian Defense Ministry had released on Sunday video of several tanks being loaded onto a train ready for transportation, following the statements accusing Ukraine of violating its airspace. Bureau Report, DD, India.
And DD India's Dasha Chernyshova now joins us from Moscow. Dasha, with both sides scaling up the rhetoric, allegations, counter-allegations flying thick over the past 1 week, how does that augur for escalation or further escalation of the conflict?
Well, we understand at this moment Moscow has been trying to be quite restrained in its response to this Ukrainian incursion, and it has always been trying to make sure that the Ukrainian advance of the troops is not made any further, any deeper into the country. But what's clear at this moment is that the pressure is mounting among the Russian population, because the acting governor of the Kursk region, speaking at the meeting with the Russian president as well as security chiefs, has said that the Ukrainian troops are in control of 28 settlements in Russia, and the fate of 2,000 people, Russian people who were in those settlements, is unknown to the authorities of the Kursk region. So certainly it does seem to be a completely new development. Many military analysts suggest that there is no tactical value for Ukraine, but obviously it is not going to be left unanswered. The Russian president has vowed that the Ukrainian troops will be squeezed out from the Russian territories, from Russia's sovereign territories, but also noted that it was the attempt that has been helped from outside the country with the help of the Western countries.
All right, Dasha, also give us a sense of what is Moscow's assessment of Ukraine trying to use the Kursk offensive as a bargaining chip in ceasefire talks later.
Well, that has been one of the options that the Russian authorities have outlined from the very beginning, speaking about the root causes and the reasons for Ukraine to launch this incursion. Russia insists that Ukraine wanted to improve its bargaining positions, its negotiating positions, should there be negotiations on the ceasefire. But at the same time, the Russian president has said that now it is obvious that it is impossible to negotiate with Kiev, because this incursion has shown that Ukrainian military are firing directly at the civilians in Russia's border regions. So the assessment here is very clear. The negotiations are now very difficult, are very unlikely from the Moscow's perspective. But at the same time, obviously, Russian officials are saying that this incursion is going to be defeated and the Ukrainian troops will not stay long on the Russian soil.
All right, Dasha Chernyshova, many thanks for joining us from Moscow and giving us that update. And still to come on DD India News Hour, US poll campaign heats up as Elon Musk is to interview Donald Trump ahead of the US presidential polls. Indian stock markets show resilience during mid-trading. shrugging off concerns raised by the recent Hindenburg Report. Conflict in Myanmar's Rakhine state intensifies. Rohingya refugees pour into Bangladesh with injuries.
We have with us a very special guest, Olympic bronze medalist Swapnil Kusale. When we talk about you and your journey from TTE to an Olympic bronze medalist,
journey is quite long and lots of challenges I faced, but it's a good journey for me till now, so I'm happy.
You got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He called and say Namaskar Bhau, kaise aap, like in Marathi language, so it was good to hear that.
You're watching DDI India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. The United States has deployed a guided missile submarine in West Asia as the region braces for possible attack by Iran and its allies. The Hamas has urged mediators to implement Joe Biden's Gaza truce plan. This report tells us more.
Tension escalates further in West Asia. These are the visuals of Israeli forces' counter-operations near the southern Gazan city of Khan Yunis on Monday. And just then, Hamas reacted to the latest round of Egyptian and Qatari brokered talks due on Thursday and said it has seen no sign of movement from the Israeli side. Hamas's reaction to the talks came as preparations for a larger-scale confrontation grew, with Washington ordering a guided missile submarine to the West Asia and the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group accelerating its deployment to the region. Israel expanded its evacuation orders in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. The Israeli military said that it had targeted Hamas operatives who were using the area to launch attacks. They claimed to have hit a Hamas command post, killing 25 operatives.
The feeling inside the garden is really peaceful. It doesn't mean that I don't think about the possibility that at any second something could happen, but trying not to think about it too much because then you don't really live your life.
Hezbollah has also launched rockets into northern Israel. The Israeli Air Force has suspended travel abroad for personnel. The Israeli army said that safety instructions from the military for the general public remained unchanged. US Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris called for a hostage deal and ceasefire.
First and foremost, and the President and I have been working on this around the clock, we need to get the hostages out. We need a hostage deal and we need a ceasefire. And I can't stress that strongly enough. It needs to get done, the deal needs to get done, and it needs to get done now.
Israel has been braced for a major attack since last month when a missile strike killed 12 youngsters in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, and Israel responded by killing a senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut. France, Germany and the UK have called on Iran and its allies to avoid retaliatory attacks. They are calling for de-escalation and a ceasefire to prevent wider conflict. Bureau Report, DD India.
And DD India's Sarah Coates joins us from Tel Aviv for more on that story. Sarah, as the US further scales up its military presence in the region by deploying a guided missile submarine in West Asia, how does that change the security dynamic there?
Well, it certainly is a very tense time in the region. What we can tell you is that the IDF has now approved plans for different fronts after conducting a number of situational assessments. Now, the directive for the Israelis, for Israeli citizens on the ground, has not changed, but the head of the Air Force has now barred service members from travelling abroad. Now, this really comes after that announcement that you were just mentioning there of the acceleration of this US military hardware to the region, specifically that is the USS Abraham Lincoln and this guided missile submarine. So certainly a lot of concern over these anticipated attacks from both Iran and Hezbollah in the wake of these assassinations, two very high-profile assassinations of Ismail Haniyeh and also, of course, of that second in charge of Hezbollah. And it comes amid reports here in the region that potentially Israel could expect attacks by not just Iran, but also Hezbollah potentially within the next 24 hours.
Okay. And what effect do you see the Hamas's appeal to the mediators to implement Biden's Gaza truce plan soon on having on the negotiations?
Well, at this hour, the status of these ceasefire and hostage negotiations set for a little later this week, they do remain unclear. Now, what Hamas is calling for is negotiations based on past talks, saying that the group doesn't want to actually enter into a fresh round of negotiations. Now, it says that this is after a number of recent incidents, one of these being, of course, the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, given that he was the head of Hamas's Politburo, and also a number of recent Israeli strikes inside the Gaza Strip. Now, we do have a statement from Hamas. It says that the group is showing flexibility and that the mediators should present a plan to implement what was agreed on the 2nd of July. Now, there are also other reports coming out that Hamas believes that new truce talks could actually be a way to prevent these anticipated Iranian and Hezbollah attacks on Israel, as well as a number of reports suggesting that potentially Benjamin Netanyahu does not want a deal. And we do need to remember here the position that Netanyahu is in. He's facing a lot of pressure from the very far right-wing elements of his government, specifically the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. He has been threatening to walk away from the coalition if Netanyahu does a deal with Hamas. But what we need to remember here is that the opposition leader Yair Lapid, he has for many months now been saying that if indeed this does happen, that he would step in, save the coalition, but only to get these hostages out.
All right, we leave it there. Sarah Coates, many thanks for joining us from Tel Aviv at this hour. Thank you. And SpaceX and Tesla billionaire Elon Musk will do an interview with Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump on Monday night. In a highly anticipated event, media mogul Elon Musk is set to interview former President Donald Trump on his social media platform X. The interview comes at a pivotal moment for Trump's 2024 campaign, as his supporters are eager for renewed engagement and clarity on his policies and vision for America. Following Musk's takeover of X, he reinstated Trump's account, which was suspended by the platform's former owners after January 6 riots at the U.S. Capitol in 2021. Musk could prove to be an unusual interviewer. The world's richest person backed Democratic President Joe Biden in 2020 but was attacked rightwards since, and he endorsed the Republicans following the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in July this year. And my colleague Nick Harper joins us from Washington, D.C. for more on the story. Nick, Musk is being the owner of the world's digital public square and a known supporter of Donald Trump. Is the interview likely to generate a lot of traction with the Americans, or will it just be seen as just another election stunt?
Well, I think, Paul, there is more potential that it will be the latter of the two. Obviously, we have seen continued support for Donald Trump, for Elon Musk, really growing in recent weeks. But it is all really about publicity for both men. It gives them a huge opportunity. You mentioned that Elon Musk will certainly be a different type of interviewer. He's many things, but he's certainly not a journalist. But he does have about 193 million followers to his page on X, and that is where this will be streamed. So a huge potential audience for Donald Trump to be able to tap into, and many of them will be US voters who will be having to make up their minds in November's election. Musk is promising that this will be an interview where there'll be no limits on subject matter. He's suggesting, because it's unscripted, it will be highly entertaining. He's even asking users to send him questions that he can ask the former president. But of course, there is also the potential for this to be a good thing for Elon Musk if it all goes well. Remember, there have been past problems on the site when they have tried to hold live events in the past. In May last year, when the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, live streamed his announcement that he was running for president, it was interrupted almost constantly by various technical glitches, causing a huge embarrassment not just for DeSantis but also for X as well. Musk says that he's been carrying out several days of testing on capacity to make sure that if there is a large audience for this live interview tonight, there won't be any interruptions in the streaming of it.
Okay. Nick, let's talk about the Democratic presidential candidate. Kamala Harris's ratings have been climbing up. Are the contours of the contest changing?
Well, they seem to be. I mean, what we have noticed in recent weeks, and it's now just over 3 weeks since Joe Biden said he was stepping aside, allowing Kamala Harris to take on the top of the ticket, we've seen incredible enthusiasm for Harris. There has been real momentum behind her from Democratic voters who seem much more buoyed by the prospect of having Harris at the top of the ticket than Biden. And we've certainly seen that play out in terms of numbers when it comes to fundraising. Vast amounts of money has flooded in the past 3 weeks, many of them from small, first-time grassroots donors. At one big event in California on Sunday evening, she saw about $12 million being raised during the course of the evening alone. And then when it comes to polling, we've seen a significant shift. Biden was trailing to Trump, but we've seen a complete reversal with now Harris leading Trump. One of the big polls out over the course of this last weekend shows that she is now leading him by 4 percentage points in the 3 main swing states of Michigan, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. So a huge turnaround. It's really just a case of waiting to see whether that momentum that she's managed to garner will continue to keep her buoyed all the way to November's election.
All right, we leave it there. Nick Harper, many thanks for joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you. And the Indian stock market has shown remarkable resilience on Monday, with the BSE Sensex and NSE Nifty recovering from initial losses and stabilizing due to gains in the banking sector. This comes amidst the controversies surrounding the recent Hindenburg Research Report on the chair of Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, which has refuted the allegations. Rubendra Chauhan gets us more.
The stock markets of India showed resilience during mid-trading, shrugging off concerns raised by the recent Hindenburg Report, and mostly recovered from early losses on Monday. The BSE Sensex and NSE Nifty, which started off weak, managed to stabilize mainly due to gains in the banking sector, despite the Hindenburg SEBI controversy.
There was some negative report by an international research company. But looking at the market just now, because Sensex is down just by 200 points in the initial trade, it seems the market is discounted and dismissed the report.
On the recent report of Hindenburg Research, BJP MP Ravi Shankar Prasad accused the opposition, the Congress party, of trying to destabilize the stock market, hinder small investors and block economic investment in India.
On behalf of the National Forum of the BJP, we would like to say with full sense of responsibility that after being rebuffed by the people of India, the Congress party, its allies, and its closest allies, the Toolkit Gang, have conspired together to usher in economic anarchy and instability in India. In their pathological hatred against Narendra Modi ji, led by Mr. Rahul Gandhi and his friends, Toolkit Gangs, Congress party today has developed a hatred against India itself.
The US-based short seller had claimed over the weekend that the head of the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, Madhavi Puri Butch, previously held investments in offshore funds that were also used by the Adani Group. Butch refuted the allegations, and SEBI urged investors to remain calm and exercise due diligence. The report by Hindenburg comes shortly after SEBI served a show-cause notice to the US-based short seller for a variety of violations in India. SEBI said it is unfortunate that instead of replying to the show-cause notice, they have chosen to attack the credibility of SEBI and attempt character assassination of the SEBI chairperson. Meanwhile, Adani has rejected the latest allegations from Hindenburg, describing the report as a red herring. The company said that its overseas holding structure was fully transparent. Rabindra Chauhan's report, DD India.
Rohingya refugees are pouring into Bangladesh with injuries from the intensifying conflict in Myanmar's Rakhine state, where the military is clashing with the ethnic militia Arakan army, according to international medical group Doctors Without Borders. The group treated 39 people in Bangladesh for conflict injuries, including mortar and gunshot wounds. Most were women and children, making up over 40% of the total. And still to come on DD India News Hour, the situation in Bangladesh continues to be volatile. We will discuss with an expert where the country is heading. And Indian star Shah Rukh Khan honored with the Parda Ala Karira Award at Locarno Film Festival. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati to produce 52-episode TV series on the life of Lashit Borphukan.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Bangladesh's interim government promises to fix minority attacks. Statue of Pakistan's 1971 surrender to India in Dhaka vandalized. Indian authors and scientists write an open letter expressing concern, urge immediate action to stop attacks. India's retail inflation eases, declines to 3.5% in July from 5.1% in June 2024. Lowest in 5 years. Index of industrial production records a growth of 4.2% in June 2024. Indian Institute of Technology Madras retains its first position in the overall category of national institutional rankings. AIIMS Delhi tops in the medical category. So the situation in Bangladesh continues to be volatile. Things are not looking good. The police is slowly resuming duties, but there are still about 40 police stations which the police haven't taken charge of. The Home Minister had to actually come out and warn, and he's given a deadline to the mobs and the protesters who took the police weapons and said return them, give them in by August 19th, otherwise we'll have to take action against you. Why are things the way they are now that even Sheikh Hasina is gone? Why aren't things coming back to normal? They have the government that they wanted. To talk about that, how the situation in Bangladesh is evolving, I'm joined by former Indian Ambassador, High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Veena Sikri. Ambassador Sikri, very good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Madam Sikri, why aren't things, once Sheikh Hasina left, the Awami League government fell, the Students Against Discrimination had their say. They got Muhammad Yunus there. They were part of the formation of the new dispensation. The army is listening to them. Their government is listening to them. Then why does the Home Affairs advisor have to come and warn them and they still don't listen?
Yes, actually, I think there is perhaps a different way of looking things that we have to take into account. Everybody is calling it, the success of the Students Against Discrimination movement, and the students have got what they wanted. But was it the students' movement that has caused this change of power in Bangladesh?
Okay.
I mean, that's the question, because right up till 15th of July, the movement was very peaceful, and the students and former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government, they were on the same wavelength. In fact, it is Sheikh Hasina's government who had abolished the quota and had actually met the demand of the students.
True.
And it's only after 15 July, when there was this misunderstanding about the use of the term Radhakars, and then the clash between the Chhatra League of the Awami League and the students, then the Islamists, the Jamaat-e-Islami, and their student wing, the Islami Chhatra Shabir, they got into the act and they took full control of the entire situation. And I think since then, it has really been the Islamists, the Jamaat-e-Islami and the other like-minded people, supported by others, supported by outside forces, supported by external forces, they have actually got full control of the government. And I say it for 2 or 3 specific reasons. If you see that on 5th of August, when Sheikh Hasina was asked to leave the country and she left the country, at that time, there was a huge upsurge of violence of 3 kinds. Now, first of all, they started breaking down the statues of Sheikh Mujib, who was the father of the nation, even statues of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. All the places associated with the liberation war were being desecrated. Today, of course, we have seen that statue of the moment of surrender.
In fact, Ambassador Sikri, today also, the name of the expressway, which is called the Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib Expressway, that board was taken off. I want to explore that at length, but before we come to that point, you say 2 things. You say, was it really a students' movement, just a students' movement? You're hinting that there was Jamaat and BNP, student wings active, and it was being politically fueled. And you're also saying that there were outside forces at play. So let's say if the Jamaat and BNP were there, they were, for student wings were there, they've ousted Sheikh Hasina. They had a say in deciding who is in the interim government. If the outside forces were indeed involved, they've got a dispensation to their liking and done away. So my question is that why isn't it subsiding?
No, because the Islamists, they want something else. It is not that they just want right now a government of their own, but it's a change in the entire approach. When speaking about destruction of everything related to the liberation war of 1971, it means they want to negate the values that liberation war stood for. Look at the attack on the Hindu community, on the religious minorities. This is exactly what happened in 1971. At that time, these were the targets. The Awami League was the target and the religious minorities were the targets. And these are the targets here again now. There is talk not of having elections anytime soon. And there's a talk instead of changing the constitution of Bangladesh. So it is those values of democracy and secularism which seem to be under maximum threat right now. And we've seen how the Hindu communities, the religious minorities, they've really suffered. There have been burnings and lootings and rape and killings exactly as there was in 1971. But I must say that the religious minorities have started to fight back. There was a huge demonstration by them in Dhaka on Saturday, and demonstrations even on Sunday in UK, in USA, and in Canada. And they're saying, look, we are...
What would be the numbers of the religious minority? I think the Hindus of Bangladesh would be about 1 crore?
Oh, yes. There's more than that, because it's 170 million to 180 million total population, and the Hindu minority is about 8%. So you can Yeah.
But that is a sizable percentage. If you're saying that sort of change is taking place in the country where the Islamists want to come in and, you know, change the constitution and change the very character of the nation, then that country has a big problem on its hands, and by extension, countries who are neighbors, India being the closest one, has a bigger problem on its hands again.
Yes. Yes, India is very worried about this, and as you know, that we have made a 200-meter, you know, curfew area around the border, 4,000 kilometers, and we have closed all visa facilities because the Indian assets were attacked immediately. The Indian Cultural Center was burned to the ground. The Indian restaurant Santoor was burnt to the ground, and our people had to come back because there was such an atmosphere of insecurity.
Okay.
And you know, the anti-Indian campaign is being waged mercilessly in Bangladesh.
Okay.
And this is it. They want to actually, these are the Islamists, they want to ruin the relationship between India and Bangladesh. We have ourselves said that we are very happy to talk to the new government, and we have seen some statements by various advisors in the government, including the Foreign Affairs Advisor Tawheed Hussain. He's made all kinds of contradictory statements. At one time he says, oh, we can have good relations despite Sheikh Hasina being there. At the other time he says, well, you know, the development of relations have never benefited the people of Bangladesh. And, you know, this huge problem that we are seeing, but we are still willing to see any sincere feeling from the government there that they want to develop the relationship. Muhammad Yunus himself, Professor Muhammad Yunus, has said many times, this is a second liberation, a second independence. So this is worried about what this means. And this is what we have to see very carefully. And of course, we are fully prepared to talk to the new government.
Okay. You know, for somebody sitting here in India, Ambassador Sikri, you've served there as our High Commissioner. Why would they, you know, take off the boards of Bangabandhu, hit his statue? He was the one who gave them their Bengali nation. They may be Islamists. It is a Muslim majority country, but their identity, when they broke away from Pakistan as East Pakistan and became Bangladesh, they asserted the Bengali identity, and the Sheikh gave them the Bengali nation. Why attack the father of the nation?
Well, maybe they, you know, this clash between the Bengali identity and the Islamic identity, this has been a kind of a pendulum swinging always one way or the other in Bangladesh. Now, at this moment, it seems to have swung strongly and entirely in favor of an Islamic identity. And if we see that it is Pakistan and other countries who are behind this, then of course they want to negate their Bengali identity altogether. And this has been a problem within Bangladesh in recent years, that the radicalization, the increase of Islamic groups has grown enormously. If you see the composition of the interim government, if you see that composition, well, they kept saying that there will be no political parties, they're all technocrats, but there is one person who represents the political party, that is Khalid Hussain, who is from the Islami Andolan Bangladesh. He is head of the Hifazat-e-Islam, which is the organization which prevented Sheikh Hasina from adopting a women's development policy, a pro-women policy. And although Sheikh Hasina tried to make up with them and have good relations with Hifazat-e-Islam, it is the same Hifazat-e-Islam who organized riots and killings and anti-Indian movements when our Prime Minister Modi was there in 2021 during the Golden Jubilee of the Liberation War. So, you know, there are these forces in Bangladesh, and at the moment, you know, they are asserting themselves very strongly. And that is why the memory of the leaders of the Liberation War being wiped out, the place in Meherpur, Mujibnagar, right next to the Indian border, where the proclamation of independence took place, that has been, you know, desecrated. And even Shilpakala Academy centers, you know, cultural arts and crafts centers, those have met with tremendous problem. But we have seen, on the other hand, that in the last 2 days, the Awami Leaguers got together in Gopalganj district in very large numbers. So it is a clash that is still there. It has not you know, come to any kind, and that is why we've seen with the policemen, some have come back to duty respecting the call, others have not. But you know, this question of the students becoming policemen, that's all romanticizing the issue. Wearing a teddy bear jacket and a small girl of 6 years standing on the street, this is not really, you know, something that you can say that students are running the country. I think that, you know, the effort to present it as though it is entirely a student's against
movement,
I don't know. A student has been made the Minister for IT. Now he's a student. He should be in university, finishing his or her degree.
Right.
But the Minister for IT. So, you know, I mean, it's
true.
very difficult to consider all of this, you know.
Yes, it is indeed a very difficult situation. The situation remains precarious. I guess the questions that haunted the subcontinent 80 years back, almost 80 years back, have come back to haunt or continue to haunt in varying, at varying levels the subcontinent. It's not just Bangladesh. We have what used to be West Pakistan also grappling with similar questions. Well, we'll have to see where the situation goes. But Ambassador Veena Sikri, thank you very much for being on the show and sharing your insights with us. Thank you. Indian film actor Shah Rukh Khan was honoured with the Pardo alla Carriere Award at Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland. Popularly known as the King Khan of Bollywood in India, the actor has worked in cinemas over 30 years and is considered as the epitome of grace and living symbol of vibrant Hindi language cinema. The festival honors personalities whose artistic contributions have redefined cinema and the collective imagination. And let's now take a look at other stories making news. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri concluded his two-day official visit to Nepal. During his visit, Foreign Secretary Misri called on Nepal's President Paudel and met with Prime Minister Oli. During his visit, he also met with his Nepali counterpart on Monday. Their extensive discussions addressed various aspects of the multifaceted cooperation between India and Nepal. This was Secretary Misri's first visit to Nepal since assuming office last month. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, in collaboration with the Assam government, will produce and air a TV series on the legendary warrior Lachit Borphukan of the Ahom dynasty. In this regard, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the two parties on Monday in Guwahati in the presence of Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma and Director General of Doordarshan Kanchan Prasad. The series will be broadcast across platforms of Prasar Bharati. And still to come on DD India News Hour, an emergency warning issued after Typhoon Maria makes a landfall in Japan's northern region on late Monday. Curtains down on the Paris Summer Games. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amrit Pal Singh. Heavy rains brought by tropical storm Maria have triggered top-level emergency warnings in some regions of northern Japan. Officials say it's just the third such storm to hit that part of the country's Pacific coast since records began. DD India's East Asia correspondent William Denslow reports.
For a period of several hours on Monday, parts of the city of Kuji in Japan were under a level 5 emergency alert. That is the highest level of alert in the country, as some 8,000 or so residents were facing what was described under this advisory as life-threatening conditions as Tropical Storm Maria hit parts of northern Japan, bringing with it a huge deluge. It's estimated, according to the Japanese Meteorological Agency, that over 350 millimeters of rain, that's roughly 14 inches, fell in just a 24-hour period. There are concerns, according to officials, that such levels of rain could bring with it the possibility of landslides as well as rivers breaking their banks. This came during an incredibly busy travel weekend in Japan. This is what is seen by many as the second largest holiday weekend of the year, behind New Year, as people travel to their family homes across the country to pay their respects to relatives that have passed away. However, officials are warning people to remain vigilant, keep watching for travel advisories because of Tropical Storm Maria. Now, while people are watching what's happening when it comes to meteorological updates, there are seismic updates that people have been asked to be on alert for as well. This after, earlier this month, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit off Japan, and many officials are warning of the possibility of a so-called megaquake that could be on the horizon. William Denslow in Hong Kong reporting for DD India.
Today marks the birth anniversary of the father of the Indian space program, Vikram Sarabhais, a rare combination of a scientist, an innovator, an industrialist and a visionary. More in this report.
Vikram Sarabhais was born on August 12, 1919 and was a pioneer in India's space program. He embarked on a journey that would forever shape the nation's scientific landscape. After completing his education in Ahmedabad and at the University of Cambridge, his passion for natural sciences led him to present his honours examination in 1940. Following the Second World War, Sarabhais returned to Cambridge to pursue a doctorate, culminating in his thesis on cosmic ray investigation in tropical latitudes in 1945. Back in India by 1947, at just 28, he founded the Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad, setting the stage for groundbreaking scientific research. He also established the Indian National Committee for Space Research, which later evolved into the Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO. Under his visionary leadership, India launched its first satellite, Aryabhat, in 1975, marking a significant milestone in the country's space journey. Sarabhai's contributions were not confined to space. He played a pivotal role in founding the Indian Institute of Management in Ahmedabad in 1962, recognizing the need for advanced management education. His commitment to science education also led to the creation of the Vikram Sarabhais Community Science Centre in 1956. Internationally, Sarabhais fostered collaborations, notably with NASA, leading to the Satellite Instructional Television Experiment in 1975, which revolutionized communication in India. His vision also included India's nuclear program, establishing the first rocket launch station at Thumba in 1963. Though Sarabhais passed away in 1971, his legacy lives on, inspiring generations of scientists and researchers. Honored with the Padma Bhushan and the Padma Vibhushan, Sarabhais remains a towering figure in India's scientific heritage. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
The curtains are finally down on the 2024 edition of Paris Olympics. And now that the baton has been handed over to Los Angeles, who are all set to host the 2028 edition of the prestigious events, our next report brings you top highlights from the entire event, update on record makers and breakers, and a lot more. Take a look.
Curtains fell on the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. After 2 magnificent weeks, this epic celebration of sports and fellowship ended as it began. The baton handed over to Los Angeles for the 2028 Games. The fierce contest for most gold medals at the Paris Olympics ended in a 40-40 tie between China and the United States. However, the US tally topped the medals table with a whopping 126 overall compared to 91 for China. Japan won 20 gold medals and Australia came at 4th place with 18 golds. Host France managed to finish at the 5th spot. The awe-inspiring Stade de France transformed into a grand concert hall celebrating the conclusion of the Paris Olympics with a spectacular closing ceremony. The event showcased a mesmerizing display of artistry featuring stars like Snoop Dogg, Billie Eilish and Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was a fantastic farewell to the 16-day event. Moreover, Hollywood star Tom Cruise abseiled from the roof and then made off with a flag on a motorbike, setting the tone for the transfer to Los Angeles, the next hosts of the Games in 2028.
This closing ceremony was really beautiful. It was a great closure. Lots of emotions. These games were really a great success. The athletes took us through great moments of joy and delight. It was really intense, and congratulations to France.
It's been great, and the people are just so much fun. They want to do so many things. There are so many different experiences to do, so many people from all around the world, so it's been great.
From the records perspective, the Paris Olympics witnessed the peak of athleticism, with 125 Olympic records being broken in 10 disciplines and 32 world records being broken across 8. Paris bid goodbye to the Olympics with a message about importance of protecting the spirit of the Games in an uncertain world riven by conflict. It had an unprecedented riverside opening ceremony that broke with tradition by taking place along the Seine 2 weeks earlier. This edition of the Olympic Games witnessed record ticket sales and a huge surge in TV viewership and record ad sales as well. Against all odds, Paris has delivered. Just a few weeks ago, the chances of a successful Games in the City of Lights seemed slim. Record levels of impurities or pollutants in the river Seine, France in a political crisis, security officials fearful of an attack. But France has overcome all the obstacles and put up a big show. With the Paris Games concluded, Los Angeles, the vibrant city of angels, will host the next Summer Olympic Games from the 14th to the 30th of July 2028. With a population of approximately 3.9 million as of 2020, Los Angeles is the second largest city in the US, following New York City. With Narayan Singh's inputs from Paris, Sports Desk, DD India.
And that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest updates and news from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amrit Pal Singh from our entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India News Hour.